Hello my dear friends, I hope you all are doing good. This is Prashant Mamani and I welcome all of you in special video lecture. This special video lecture is of your General Studies 2. If you check out General Studies 2 syllabus, then you will find that topics such as India and its neighborhood relations, then bilateral, regional and global groupings and arrangements involving India and or affecting India's interest, and important international institutions, agencies and fora, their structures and their mandate. So this is something directly related to your General Studies 2 syllabus. Apart from that, dear friends, if you scan through or if you study GS papers, past papers, then you will find at least one question is asked, or more than one questions are asked on the topics which I have just uttered for you guys. The name of this special video lecture is Indian Ocean Rim Association. Now, a couple of days ago, we had a word regarding Vice President Hamid Ansari traveling to Indonesia, right, for attending the first summit of IOR Association. It is also known as IORA, and many a times it is referred as IOR, Indian Ocean Rim Association, IORA, and many times it is referred as IOR Association, right? So these are two different words for the same thing. Now, dear friends, before we move any further, I would like to inform all of you about our subscription services. If you subscribe to our services, then you will get this sort of special video lectures, right? Apart from that, there are many other lectures ranging from GS1 to GS4. Everything is in context of your syllabus, right? And these lectures, as you will find out as we end this lecture, by the end of this lecture, you will find out that these lectures are customized for you guys. They are designed in such a way that complex things becomes very easy to understand. You can comprehend maximum things out of it. And of course, once you understand things, then you will be able to pen it down whilst you are going through your mains examination, and of course in the interview as well. And if these two things, if interview and mains examination, if you are confident about these two exams, then trust me, you would not require any specific or special preparation for your prelims examination. We provide many lectures, this sort of lectures, and most of the lectures, right, 80 to 90% of our lectures are specially for our subscribers. So do subscribe if you want to go through all this lecture. And the good thing is that apart from the video lecture, you would also be able to download PPT files or PDF files of all the lectures, right? And everything will cost you 3,000 rupees per year, right? It is for whole year. You only pay 3,000 rupees, in which you get lots and lots of things. But the thing is that they are all the services that we are providing is of the highest possible quality. Moving on, dear friends, let's check out today's index. Today we are going to talk about the background of IORA. Then we will go through the current scenario, what's going on. Then we will move ahead and discuss about the focus area of this summit, of IORA summit. Then we will scan Indian Ocean. We will check the scenario that's going on in Indian Ocean. We will check what are the potential threat to Indian Ocean. Then we will talk about China. Of course, when we talk about China, we are talking in the context of IORA. And finally, with the help of Maritime Silk Route, I will explain you how China is playing games in this part of the world and how it can impact India's interest. So dear friends, I hope you all are ready. This lecture would be somewhere around 25 to 30 minutes. It may go up as well, because as you all know that these are live lectures, live in the sense I am not making any pre-written script. It is a discussion that is taking place between you and me. So let's move ahead, dear friends. Indian Ocean Rim Association. Now, before we go through the points, as you can see on your screen, the picture gives a brief overview of all the member countries of Indian Ocean. Now, I told you when we were learning, or when we discussed for the first time Indian Ocean Rim Association in daily current affairs analysis, I told you at that time to do check out the map of Indian Ocean, and I also told you to check out a special video of geography that is available on our YouTube channel. The name of that lecture is Indian Ocean itself, and in that one we have talked about many basic things, some basic things regarding Indian Ocean, right? So dear friends, these are the countries, the one which you can see in dark green color. These are the countries that are part of IORA, and the meeting is taking place in Indonesia, Jakarta. Right, so it all started in 1997 at Mauritius, right? For the first time a meeting took place, and in this meeting was, the name of this meeting was, or the organization that conducted this meeting was Indian Ocean Association for Regional Cooperation, right? Now, as I have told you, I'm sure many of you have made this a good habit of breaking down things, isn't it? Even if you hear any name, then you break down that name. So let's break down Indian Ocean Association for Regional Cooperation. Indian Ocean, all the countries, right? Most of the countries, you can say, that are having a border with Indian Ocean would be part of this association, and this association is for, or it was for, regional cooperation. That means the whole region is going to cooperate with each other. That was the basic idea, or the basic theme of IOARC. It started in 1997 at Mauritius, right? Since its inception, broadly speaking, we can say that it was going slowly, or it has been not that much in motion for various reasons, because of the countries. If you go back to 1997, then at that point of time as well, India was, of course, India has always been a country on a global, if you talk in terms of geopolitics, then India has always played a important role, or India is also considered a very important country. But the thing is, dear friends, at that point of time we were not doing that much economically good, right? We were a country with huge population, and we were struggling, and at that point of time political stability was also not that much, and the things around the world were quite different as well. But now, as we all know, that 21st century is considered as the era of Asia, and in Asia you have two countries that are known as, or considered as, rising star or rising power, and they are China and India. After that, a meeting took place in 2011 in India, and after this meeting, this Indian Ocean Association for Regional Cooperation got a lot of momentum. The wheel of this IOARC started into, or it got motion after 2011, and its name was also changed from IOARC to Indian Ocean Rim Association, right, dear friends? So these are some of the basic things regarding it, and at present there are 21 member countries in IORA. Moving ahead, dear friends, current scenario. Now before we go through, or before we understand other things, it is better for us to understand current scenario, because once we are clear about some basic things, then we can understand other things. That is very simple to understand, isn't it? So the first meeting of IORA was held at Indonesian capital Jakarta. The year of 2017 marks 20 years of this group, which is a very important landmark. 20 years. This association has completed 20 years, right? From 1997, now in 2017, it completes 20 years, and it's a very good landmark, important landmark. And the other thing is that the chair seat or the chairmanship, right, it changes on rotational basis. In 2011 it was India, 2017 it is Indonesia, and luckily for Indonesia, the first meeting of IORA is taking place when it is a chair seat, and we know that Indonesia is also having disputes with China regarding 9-dash line. We will talk about that later on. So it's good for Indonesia. India would have loved to held this meeting, but at the moment we are not the chair. We are not on chair, or we are not the head of this group at present, so we were not lucky enough to have that thing taking place in India. Now, till now, its emphasis, IORA's whole emphasis were more on economic cooperation and economic integration. But as the global scenario is changing, emphasis could shift more to security area. Now, the question is, what exactly and why security area? Now let's talk about that thing as well. Security is paramount for this region because, first of all, 2.3 billion people are living in this region. 2.3 billion people. Second thing is that it is a very diverse group, range all the way from Africa to Southeast Asia and Australia. Now let's quickly check out, right, dear friends. See here, this is your Africa, this is Madagascar, this is Mauritius, right? So from Africa you have a couple of countries of West Asia, then you come to South Asia, and then you are in Southeast Asia, and here you have Australia. So if we look at the big picture, then we can say that 3 continents, right? Africa, Asia and Australia. This group has members from 3 different continents, isn't it? So that is one of the reasons why security becomes very important. And the other thing is that for Indian security aspect, if we look from Indian perspective, then 80% of India's energy imports are flowing from this ocean. So it is very important for India to stop piracy in this area, right? And there are other things as well which are associated with it. We are going to talk that in next slide. 40% of world global trade traverses from Indian Ocean. 40% of world global trade. This is huge figure, dear friends, isn't it? So these are some factual information through which you can understand the importance of IORA. Now moving on, we are going to talk about 6 priority focus areas that are going to be, or that are discussed in IORA summit in Indonesia. The first one is maritime safety and security. We are going to talk about maritime safety and security in detail, so I'm not going too much into it. Trade and investment, easy to understand, 3 continents, 1 ocean connecting all of them. So of course we are going to talk about trade and investment, and this meeting as well had an extensive talk on trade and investment. Management of fisheries. Now ocean fisheries, lots of people living in this area, 2.3 billion people, and if they are living in this area, then of course they are going to rely on, or majority or a huge amount of population is going to be dependent on fisheries for their trade, for medicinal purposes, for food purposes, right? And the thing to worry about is that total stock of fisheries in the oceans has been declining. This is a major issue which was discussed in this meeting. The other thing is that the decline in fisheries or stock of fisheries in ocean is mainly due to too much of exploitation done by human beings. What we are doing is, because of the development of technology, bottom trawlers and new nets, and with the help of satellites and other gadgets and technology, we can locate exactly where fishes are. And as we have good engines on our boats, it is easy for us to plan everything and head towards that direction. And the bulk of fishes that we are catching has also increased. Our capacity has increased, and the way we are doing all these things, the whole operation, it is not sustainable. We are killing more fish, or we are catching more fish than an ocean can support. So this is a huge issue. The other thing is, this is also part of your blue economy. So if you ever encounter a word called blue economy, then take into consideration it is about fisheries, and of course many a times it is also used for, if any natural resources that we find within any ocean, that is also used for that, then blue economy is also used for that purposes as well. Disaster management, tsunamis. In 2004, we all know that Indian Ocean had a huge tsunami. Countries like India, Sri Lanka, and Indonesia, Thailand, these were the countries that were affected by this this catastrophic tsunami that took place in 2004. But the good thing is that India is, generally speaking, considered as a big brother in this region of Indian Ocean, and it quickly extended its support to countries like Indonesia and Sri Lanka during this tough time of 2004 tsunami. Science and technology. Now, when we talk about science and technology, and when we are talking about Indian Ocean or any other ocean, the main thing is about climate change, isn't it? And environmental issues are becoming very prominent. And the last one is tourism. Now, there are many countries in this part of the world. Couple of months ago, not couple of months ago, but recently, fortnight ago, Vice President of India was in Rwanda. You remember that? He was in Rwanda. He visited Kenya as well. If you observe Kenya, then you will find that it is part of our Indian Ocean. So at that point of time, tourism was talked about, right? The president of Rwanda also invited Bollywood to shot its film in Rwanda, and they have some beautiful places where they want Bollywood to, or Indian film, Indian cinema people to conduct shooting over there. Apart from that, you have many countries like Thailand, you have Australia. You might have seen advertisement of Australia, right? Then we have our two beautiful places. One is Lakshadweep, the other is Andaman and Nicobar Island. Then Sri Lanka is a major tourist destination. You have Mauritius, Seychelles, right? So there are many other countries that are associated with tourism. In fact, Mauritius, Seychelles, the maximum or the majority of revenue, Maldives, right? These are the countries, the tiny islands that make most of the money from tourism. Their whole economy is dependent on tourism. So, and India as well, if India wants to create jobs in tourism, so based on that, this thing was also discussed in IORA summit. I can go on and on. There are many things that we can discuss, but we have to stick to our target, that is understanding on IORA. Now let's quickly check Indian Ocean scenario. Now at present, 21 member countries are there in IORA, and 21 member countries should focus more and more on security related issue. The question is why? The thing is, at present there is no rivalry in Indian Ocean. Because there is no rivalry in this part of the world, it is peaceful. If there is any rivalry, if there is any origination of rivalry, then we will find that this place will also get disturbed. Everything is free in Indian Ocean. When I say free, I'm not talking about monetarily. I'm talking about like trade and transit is free. You can easily sail in this. No one will stop you, or there won't be any navies chasing your ship, right? And even sea lanes are clear. So it's it's peaceful, it's tranquil, right? If you observe different parts of the world, then things are changing, and changing for the worst. Now, South China Sea, it was as peaceful as Indian Ocean, but the aggressiveness of China made this area an area of conflict. This is your South China Sea, dear friends. I'm sure you might be familiar with this one, particularly students who are associated with our channel for the longest time. We have talked about South China Sea, but if you are a new listener, then I would like you to focus on this part of the world. If you have a class book in your hand, then you can pause this video here and scan this area, right? Go through this area. This is very important area. Once you understand what are the things going on in this area, then you would be able to know many things about geopolitics. This is Strait of Malacca, right? Strait of Malacca, from where a couple of years ago a flight from Malaysia got disappeared, right? It was traveling from somewhere above this region, and if you cross Strait of Malacca, if you head a little bit towards western side, then you will come across Andaman and Nicobar Islands of India. Now, this is disputed part of South China Sea. At one point of time, it was very tranquil. As I told you, it was very peaceful. But because of aggressiveness of China, this is not any peaceful area anymore. If you remember, last year it was international court, right? Arbitrary court that came out with a verdict that the 9-dash line claim of China, there is no historical backing, right? China is claiming that there are China is claiming 9-dash lines. 9-dash lines means there are a couple of lines you can draw here in this part of region. It is chain of islands which China is claiming that it is part of. If you go back to history, as per China, these islands are its territory. But other countries of South China Sea are also staking claim, and the international court has said that it cannot find any historical and profound evidence regarding the claim of China. And unfortunately, after this verdict, China rejected the verdict of this court, right? It was Philippines who took China to that court, but China still is not inclined, or it's not ready to accept United Nations Convention on Law of Sea, UNCLOS, right? It is not following UNCLOS. It is not agreeing with UNCLOS, China. Moving on. This is another picture, right? This one was about South China Sea. This is about Western Pacific Ocean, or Pacific Ocean in general. Now, you have many countries here. Two rival countries, Russia and USA, right? So they are also using this part of Pacific waters for trading. Then you have China, again rivalry with with USA. Then you have Japan, rivalry between China and Japan and other countries here. So this part of the world is also not that tranquil and peaceful. It has always been an area of conflict because of USA, China, Japan and Russia. It is very important for the 21 member states to ensure that there is no entry of foreign navies in a manner which can disturb the peace and tranquility of this area of IORA. It is very important that none of the 21 member states, right, do not provide any kind of base to any foreign naval power. Otherwise, they will be opening this region to competition, which will eventually harm all the countries. Very simple to understand. I'll give you a small example as well, right? Now, piracy, potential threat. Piracy was big issue earlier in this region, but a lot of that is been taken care of. Many of our ships and crews were captured by pirates and they were released with great difficulties. International cooperation for anti-piracy has been one of the very fine success stories. As piracy is contained, the danger is changing. Can you guess what danger it is, or what is a growing danger in this area? If you have guessed it, then I would like to say that it is terrorism. 26/11 Mumbai terror attack was conducted using maritime route. An accord has been signed on cooperation against terrorism. Vice President of India has specifically said in the summit about sharing of intelligence that is very doable for the member countries, this 21 member countries, right? Now, sharing of intelligence is very useful for agencies that safeguard a country, but unfortunately in this region the center of terrorism is Pak. Pakistan lies in Indian Ocean region country, but Pakistan is not, right? It is a small mistake over here, dear friends. I will sort it out. It is not part of IORA, but indirectly it influences security in Indian Ocean region because of Arabian Sea. I'll give you an example. I told you, right? This is Gwadar port, right? China. Now, Pakistan has practically handed over its Gwadar port in Arabian Sea to China, which will increase presence of more and more Chinese Navy in this region. This is one part of security where we have to be watchful. But on terrorism, international pressure on Pakistan is required so that it does not provide hub, sanctuary and financial support to the terrorist networks. Now, this is your Gwadar port here, dear friends. This is Gwadar port. Now, as Gwadar port is practically handed over to China, China is going to use all this way from South China Sea. It will enter into Indian Ocean and then it will use this part from here. It will place its navy and its vessels and everything over here. Apart from that, you have China-Pakistan economic corridor that is passing from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, about which India is not happy, right? And it's basically China's energy supply that is coming from this part of the world. It can be shipped till here, and from here via road and train it can directly enter China. But in China's strategy of string of pearls, right, harrowing India from this part, that's a strategy of China. Now, China, as we are talking about China, the question is whether China is a threat or a partner. Now, China is developing blue water navy. Blue water navy means best of the best, right? They already have an aircraft carrier and more are on drawing board. They will have navy for two regions, one for Pacific and one for South China Sea. Definitely China is going to have two dedicated navy, right? Two branches of navy, one focusing on Pacific Ocean and the other on South China Sea. Now, 21 member countries are fine if China is playing peacefully, but China has to ensure that it does not behave assertively and aggressively in Indian Ocean. If China is helping these 21 countries in expanding their trade, if it is behaving properly, then there is no threat to these countries. But as we all know, China, once you allow them, if you give them your finger, then they will hold your neck, right? So this is a strategy of China. So we have to be watchful in this area as well. Now, let's quickly go through the Silk Route, Maritime Silk Route. I'm going to provide you one more example of Chinese strategy. Now, MSR, or the Maritime Silk Route, is a project through which China wants to dominate the sea routes and trade routes. It overlaps with Indian Ocean region, as you have already checked here, isn't it? It is overlapping in Indian Ocean region. Now, the kind of linkages China wants to bring about, India is not favorable and not party to Maritime Silk Route project. If we study the history, dear friends, of 16th and 17th century and the rise of colonial power, we can understand the game played by China. If you compare the things that used to take place back in since 1498, when Vasco da Gama arrived in India, and after that one by one European countries, French arrived, then we got people from Netherlands, Holland it was known at that point of time, and then we got, of course, the British people, and we know that this country people, these colonial powers, they became colonial powers because they had the technology, right? They had shipping capabilities, and because of these things they controlled the whole market. So it was them who benefited in the 16th century and 17th century, and we all know the story of their dominance over India and other parts of Asia, right? Literally speaking, this European people or this European colonial powers were having a strong hold on countries like Africa and Asia, and they were able to do it because of their technological development and their shipping capabilities, and because they were controlling the market. Now, in the same way, right, some of the coastal countries like this, China is playing the same game, similar sort of game with the help of MSR. The way some of the coastal countries have embraced MSR, it can be very dangerous for them. Example, Hambantota of Sri Lanka. What happened here basically, like China gave $1 billion as a loan to Sri Lanka, right, to develop this port. But there was no generation of revenue for Sri Lankan government. So finally what Sri Lankan government did, or you can say that the whole trap of China worked. Now China got this Hambantota port from Sri Lanka on lease. So it could be, we can say that it is a new way of colonizing, isn't it? It could be a Chinese way of colonizing small countries by first investing, right, and then when countries are not able to pay back, then trying to get control of the port and inland facilities. So it is important for countries who have embraced MSR or Maritime Silk Route first to understand that what is likely to happen. Countries like Maldives and Sri Lanka won't be exporting anything to China. We know it very well. These countries are not manufacturing hub. It is China that is manufacturing things, right? So what we will see is, or a scenario that we can see is, Chinese goods coming into these countries on Chinese vessels and using their ports and other facilities that is developed with the help of Chinese money, right? So it is like colonizing these small countries in Chinese way. So this basically, dear friends, concludes our discussion. I'm sure from Indian Ocean Rim Association there are many things. See, I strongly believe that, and it is true as well, that if I wanted, right, then I could have kept myself only limited to Indian Ocean Rim Association. I could have given you background scenario, some factual figures, that's it, finished, right? But as I told you earlier as well, my whole approach is to provide you the best possible quality material. My whole aim is that you understand things, right? It's not about remembering things or memorizing things. It's about understanding. And if you sit down and if you observe the whole lecture, then you will find that apart from learning some basic things regarding Indian Ocean Rim Association, you came to know so many different things. You came to know about South China Sea, Indian Ocean, right, then Maritime Silk Route, role of China, importance for India, so the whole global scenario, Pacific Ocean, so geopolitics, economic development, security, piracy, right, all these things we have discussed. This lecture could be of 35 to 40 minutes, but trust me, it has covered 10 hours of your studies, right? 10 hours of your studies, or more than that as well. And this is going to help you grow with other things as well, right, dear friends? So I hope you appreciate the hard work, and I hope you appreciate the things and resources that are utilized or that are invested for providing this sort of quality material to all of you. And you are the judge of these things, right? You have to let me know whether the quality of things that you get is of top of the range or not, right? So I'll keep it till here. And one more thing, as I'm talking to you, I remember one more thing. Couple of days ago, dear friends, in daily current affairs analysis, I told you, or we discussed about a Fufu island, right, of Maldives, that Maldives is planning to sell it to Saudi Arabia. And at that point of time, we talked about terrorism, how Wahhabism can gain a strong hold in Indian Ocean, and you can also add that thing with IORA. The date when I am recording this lecture is 16th of March 2017. So all the things, all important things are taken here. So in future, if there are any updates, then of course I will provide you. Then at that point of time, you can add on. You can add things on to this PDF file that you would be having. And do not forget to connect this thing with your Maldives and Fufu island of Maldives and Saudi Arabia's Wahhabism. So I'll keep it till here, dear friends. This is before I end this lecture, I'd like to show you a picture of maritime Silk Route of China. Here is your Hambantota. Here is a port of Bangladesh, right? Then you have Indonesian port here. See, this is how China is trying to cover this whole area. It is reaching to Africa and inner parts of this Persian Gulf. From here it can go to Europe as well. It already has a economic road belt, right? One road, one belt here. In prelims 2016 there was a question like one road, one belt is associated with which country. So options were there, and in one option it was China. So here you go, you have some stuff for prelims as well. In 2017 you may be asked about maritime Silk Route is a product of which country, right? And or brainchild of which country. Then I'm sure now you know the answer. It's China, right? So this is a small example, a picture that will help you understand things in much more in-depth fashion. Dear friends, we are nearly 37 minutes, so I'm not going to talk too much to you. Do not forget to subscribe to our services. If you have already subscribed, then remember you are the brand ambassador of this product or services that we are providing. Do talk about these things with your friends. Let them know how these things are helping you. Also, let us know as well. You can pass me your valuable feedback. Subscribe to our channel, dear friends. If you have already subscribed, turn that notification bell on. If you like this video, then please give me your likes, and you can follow us on Twitter. You can like us on Facebook. We are on WhatsApp as well if you have any question or query, right? And dear friends, this is Prashant Mamani signing off. I will see you all soon with a special video lecture. Till then, enjoy your studies. Take care. Goodbye.